New Jersey's 12th congressional district is up for the taking. Many challengers, but no incumbent this time. One of those challengers and one of the many candidates running for New Jersey's 12th congressional district is Kyle Little, and he joins me now on his birthday. First of all, happy birthday, and thank you for taking time on your birthday to speak with me.
Thank you. Yeah, my birthday was actually on Thursday, but today was my birthday party, like my celebration. So today I was out with all my friends at brunch and just celebrated my birthday. So for sure.
Well, happy belated birthday, and we're gonna get into your
Thank you.
policy proposals in a moment. But first things first, why are you running for Congress?
Well, I'm running for Congress because I feel like there is a definite need, especially in a Democratic Party, for fighters. We need more fighters, people who fight for the community, people who fight for the working class and middle class, people who fight for seniors, people who fight for marginalized communities. I'm an openly gay African American male, so once Donald Trump got reelected, I basically felt sick to my stomach and I said, you know what? We need stronger people in the Democratic Party who could really push back against the fascism that we have in office right now. Because I feel like there is not enough of them. There's a few, but there's not enough of them in the Democratic Party right now. So, I'm running for Congress because I feel like I can relate to a lot of people. I'm an adjunct college professor, so I know the value of education, and I stand for quality of education, and I stand for the benefit of my students and younger people because they are our future. I also am really in the fight for seniors because I'm happy to be the proud grandson of two 91-year-old grandparents. Both of my grandparents turned 91 this year. So I really am looking for, when I see seniors being under attack, like Social Security and Medicare, I feel like there needs to be a voice out there to fight for them. Again, the LGBTQ community is always under attack. We're blamed for everything. Conservatives and Republicans, they try to act like who's in somebody else's bedroom affects everybody else's life, and it doesn't. Or they blame trans people for everything, like trans people are the ones taking away their health care, or trans people are the ones deporting US citizens, or trans people are the ones taking people's jobs. So I'm just, in the fight to really be a voice for the people. I'm running for New Jersey's 12th congressional district, which is a very diverse district. We have a lot of different communities, in a lot of different age brackets, and I'm just here to serve the people.
One of the people that you mentioned in a Ballotpedia candidate connection survey, that is, you use the word fight, committing to the fight for justice and equality. You say this in the candidate survey, is someone like Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. What is it about Jasmine Crockett that you would like to adopt some of her principles to potentially as a future member of Congress?
Well, she's a fighter. She's a fighter, and I feel like the Democratic Party right now is in desperate need for like a newer generation of leadership. So I and the main fighters that I see are the people who are millennials, and like we have a lot of Gen Z people who are in the Gen Z generation, getting into politics now. So she's a fighter, and that's what I value, and not only is she a fighter, but she fights for the right things. She fights for democracy. She fights for integrity and all of the things that we should aspire to be. So that's what I really want to, because I feel like a lot of the Democrats just let these people spread these false narratives mainly about marginalized people that are not true. Like there are no such thing as immigrants coming here and getting hired and taking your jobs. You tell me when somebody has came straight off the boat from whatever country they've come from and gotten hired before you, when you've applied for a job. That has never happened, and nobody could ever tell me a situation about that. Tell me where again, like a gay person had any effect on your life whatsoever. It doesn't. So again, and we need people to speak out against this stuff, and I feel like the Democratic Party hasn't done a good job of doing that, but certain people have, like AOC, like Jasmine Crockett. So people like that. That's what I like about somebody like Jasmine Crockett. I like these people who have a little bit of fight, to them, and just can fight for the right things and the right values.
Let's talk about your values manifested in policy. You believe in protecting Social Security and Medicare. You mentioned at the top of the interview about your grandparents in their 90s who need Social Security and Medicare. What is it about those two programs specifically that you believe benefit the masses?
Well, everybody wants to retire, right? And when people retire, they should be able to be protected. They should be able to have Social Security to have, and you need that, especially in today's economy, to just be able to afford anything. You work, you put your dues in, you've worked and paid into the economy for years. So, protecting Social Security is extremely important. And not even just my grandparents, but my parents. Both of my parents are over 65. So they need their Social Security. And Medicare. When it comes to Medicare, it's like, I'm all for universal health care. So and I know that being a personal trainer, and a small business owner, somebody whose whole career is about health and wellness, we are nothing without our health. Without our health, we have nothing. So we have to keep ourselves healthy, and God forbid somebody has heart issues or cancer or diabetes. Like, they need to be able to be able to afford quality health care, and get the health care that they need when they go into the doctor, and not have their claims denied by insurance companies and things like that. So we definitely need to protect all of that.
We'll get into your other health policy proposals in a moment, but in terms of Social Security and Medicare, some are concerned about how much those two programs cost. According to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, they say that both of these two programs account for nearly one third of total federal spending. How would you address those who are concerned about the fiscal costs associated with both programs?
Well, I mean, I guess my question would be, what do you think federal spending should be spent on more than that? I mean, we're talking about people's health here. We're talking about people's retirement, and I think most people want to be able to retire and live a healthy life, and live a good quality of life, and be able to afford, general necessities, like just to live and thrive in this world, especially in today's economy. So, people are concerned. I don't know. I mean, I really can't speak for everybody when they are concerned about that. But I really feel like that if a third of the federal budget is put into that, I don't think, I mean, maybe you can make the case and tell me, maybe you could say maybe a fourth of the federal budget should be put into that. I don't know. But I don't think that that's a problem. I think it's a necessity, and we need to put money into things that are a necessity. Now, what I don't think the federal budget should be put into is like spending money on like federal, using our federal tax dollars to go to Israel, things like that. There's a whole lot of other waste that the government spends on, other than Social Security and Medicaid, that are basic life necessities.
Health, you are a gym business, you're a business owner, and you're in the health and fitness space. You own fitness studios. Is there any path that you see to possibly promote legislation to increase physical exercise within the American population?
Definitely. I mean, so at my gym, I partner up with like Peer Fit and things like that, like insurance companies that help. They basically reimburse me as the fitness studio owner, for people who have like their health insurance through whatever Aetna, or some other, maybe Horizon. So more federal spending to these health insurance companies to help people, work out at gyms and stuff like that. Because if you could come in and work out at a gym, the hopefully the less that's the less you'll be sick. If you're exercising promotes weight loss. It helps with prevent osteoporosis because weightlifting increases bone density. So we health and wellness, and insurance companies, put it giving fitness studios reimbursement for that is definitely a good thing. So I think the federal government should definitely put more money into insurance companies to be able to afford that for sure. Um, and actually provide that, because I feel like some of these insurance companies are very fraudulent as well. So we need to make sure that when we are allocating federal dollars to these insurance companies, that they are actually using it so that their clients can go to the gym and work out and maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Physical exercise is also something that has been lacking for younger generations, children. Some states, some municipalities have made cuts in physical education. What are some steps that you would take to increase access to physical education for children in schools?
Well, I think every school needs to make it a requirement. Like I know in certain districts, physical education is not. Let's talk about high school, right? In certain school districts, you only have to take phys ed for 2 or 3 years. It should be, first of all, you shouldn't have. It should be a requirement to take it every year growing up in school. And I'm from Linden, New Jersey, so there was a lot of times that even in gym class we would have an open gym, and it's like, what are these gym teachers actually doing with these students? Because the gym teachers are sometimes just there collecting a paycheck. So I think that, and they're just sitting there doing nothing. I mean, I can't even count the endless times that I just went into the gym and we sat on the bleachers for the whole day. Like it should be a requirement for kids to come into the gym and really do physical exercise and be prepared, be dressed on time for gym. Don't come in there with jeans on. Come in there ready to exercise and work out, whether that's playing whatever sport that they're playing for that day. If they're playing volleyball, if they're outside and the weather is nice, playing soccer, whatever they're doing. But gym needs to be a requirement. Now there's other things that I feel like there's other subjects that I feel like we don't need as much. But physical education is definitely should be a required subject in school.
You mentioned earlier about believing in Medicare for all, and that's a part of your health and wellness plan. Uh, how are you going to work with members of Congress who clearly don't believe in Medicare for all? You have to be able to work across the aisle. So what would be your plan to work with those who disagree with you on Medicare for all?
Work across the aisle with MAGA. I don't even know if that's possible, but um I'm hoping that we get the majority in the House in the midterm elections, and then we could get that accomplished pretty much, because trying to talk any sense into people who have no sense at all is almost like talking to this wall behind me or talking to this door behind me.
So you don't see a path at all where you could maybe persuade some Republicans to adopt Medicare for all?
Well, I think that maybe we can, like, for instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that she was talking about how her kids are now losing their health care. So maybe they will see once it actually starts affecting them, or maybe if we could get the messaging out, like, hey, this affects your friends and your family as well, then maybe they might want to, and their constituents, because as you see, even with like Trump's big beautiful bill that took healthcare away from 17 million Americans, mainly in rural areas, the areas that overwhelmingly voted for him, like these people are now affected now. So maybe they could get some, like, a little bit of logic talked into them, and knowing that these policies disproportionately affect them too, then maybe we could work with them. But I'm just hoping, because right now we haven't had any success with that. Since pretty much like 2016, since this whole era of Trumpism has been in office.
Let's talk about your economic plan more broadly. You talk about creating a thriving middle class. What steps would you take to create a thriving middle class?
Well, I actually have something. Well, definitely putting more money into small businesses. You know, small businesses are the backbone of our economy. A lot of people want to start small businesses, so giving people resources, even giving people like small business training, that's something that could really help us. You know, and then I have a policy called the Democratic Relief Act, which will be a stimulus check of $5,000 that goes to every family that has a household income of $200,000 or less. Now, 90% of the families in the United States do have a household income of less than $200,000. So that will really help working class people. And now people are gonna say, well, how are we gonna pay for this? You pay for this by not I'm not going to say taxing the rich because everybody has heard that, right? But we want to tax these large corporations. Now I'm talking about FedEx, I'm talking about Amazon. You know, I'm talking about all of these and taxing them actually 15 to 20%. Um because that's what I get charged as a small business owner. I have to pay employee taxes and employer taxes. So I have to pay 15% of taxes every year, you know, at the end of the year. So that if small businesses have to pay that, that's definitely a good share for these large corporations. Also, when these families get these $5,000 checks, they could put that money back into the economy by paying rent, by paying groceries, by paying mortgages. All of that money goes back into the economy, so that will generate another $1 trillion back into the economy, you know, over a few years. So it wouldn't be like any loss or anything like that as long as this is done correctly and as long as this bill is signed correctly. It wouldn't cause any more inflation. So like that's another way that I would want to help working class families. And working class families deserve it, you know, and building a thriving middle class, like that's what we want because we don't, you know, right now the administration is only giving any tax breaks to multimillionaires and billionaires. Like the richer you are, the more of a tax break you get. And like a lot of these large companies and these billionaires out there, there's only 935 of them across the whole country, and they pay hardly anything in taxes.
On the campaign website, you mentioned raising wages. You're a small business owner. It's one thing for Walmart or Target. They have, major multinational corporations have a lot of free cash flow to pay, and they have a lot of revenue coming in to pay higher wages. But it's another thing for small businesses. How would raising wages benefit small businesses?
Oh, well, I don't know if I was talking about necessarily small businesses. I talked about maybe raising because every small business already pays the minimum wage. Now I was talking about raising the minimum wage across the board. Um, like in the state of New Jersey, our minimum wage here is $15, but I think $15 needs to be a national a national thing. Like, you know, in this economy, everything is expensive across the board. Whether I know people struggling to pay rent, I know people struggling to pay. So no matter what, like whether you own a small business or a large corporation, you need to be able to pay that $15 an hour for anyone. Um, Now, with helping small businesses, of course, again, you want to be able to give people even like Kamala Harris, she had a good proposal, like a $50,000 small business grant for people to even like start a small business to begin with. Because I could tell you firsthand, starting a small business, it requires you to have capital. It requires you to be able to sustain yourself for at least 6 months. And as you see, like people are going into businesses, a lot of times they fail in the first year because people don't have that extra money. So you need to be able to have a working capital to sustain your business, and there needs to be resources and grants out there for small businesses for sure.
Well, then, how about the argument that yes, it could help small businesses grow, and you mentioned the grant, but sometimes small businesses operate on such tight margins. Can they really afford the amount of employees needed to be successful if wages are raised?
Well, I mean, also up to that. That's also more on the discretion that of the business owner. I mean, what small business are you looking to do? You know, like if I, for instance, I'm running a personal training studio, so I don't need that many employees because I don't have that. You know, I don't have. I'm not running a LA Fitness. You know, so now if you're running a small business, like if you want to open up let's say a daycare center, then you might need more employees. So it also depends on, you have to know what, you have to come up with your own business plan. Like that's not up to the federal government to decide that for you. You have to come up with those things yourself. um so you know, it comes with, it comes, a lot of it comes on the small business owner as well. And you can't, you know, you can't just say like, oh, I need to hire more employees, so I need more money. You know, you have to know what business you're going into and what you decide to start. You have to have a plan to make your business be able to sustain yourself as well.
We'll get to about two more questions and then we'll get to your final thoughts. When it comes to having a thriving middle class, do you see any potential to work with Republicans or even you could say conservative Democrats? You call yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you view yourself as a progressive Democrat. Is that correct?
Yes, for sure.
How are you going to work with maybe moderate Democrats, conservative Democrats, or even conservative Republicans on creating that thriving middle class? Because so much of legislation in Congress, it does require some at times working across the aisle or those you disagree with.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just convincing them that it benefits all of us. I mean, it doesn't benefit in anything when, I mean, because a lot of the Republicans who are in Congress who are voting on these proposals to give tax cuts to the rich, they are, you know, kind of kicking their own supporters and their own people who vote for them. They're kicking them in the back, you know. So I think that especially now, being that, you know, like their party has such a low approval rating right now during this administration, I think they're starting to see, you know, how their policies of not helping a thriving middle class, because the majority of the population is the middle class, you know, not, I think they're starting to see how their policies negatively affect people, and negatively affect the majority of Americans. So I think hopefully they can see that and they get out of their own selfish ways and, you know, actually do, you know, vote on issues that, or vote on policies that actually benefit their constituents as well.
As a business owner, what are some insights and lessons that you've taken away that you would like to incorporate in economic policy?
Whew. Lessons that I've taken away from being a small business owner. You know, just being able to, uh I guess, have the resources available that you need. Again, I want to be able to give, you know, like there should be, first of all, let's go back. We should even have courses on financial, even if you don't want to like open a small business, right? There should be courses in education about financial literacy. Like a lot of people don't even know how, what a credit score is or what a credit score really does. People don't even know about opening up credit cards to have credit, you know, or build the credit. So things like that. Also, you know, when it comes to opening a small business, we need, like I said, we need grants, and we also need resources. We need resources on telling people, well, what does it take to create a small business? You know, you need to have articles of incorporation, or you need to have you need to file your monthly reports, and you need to file, if you're going for certain grants, you need to make sure that you're not writing off, or going for certain, trying to get business loans, you're not writing off too much stuff, because then your business won't even be able to get that loan or that grant that you actually need. You know, so there has to be like a lot of resources when it comes to training as well. Was that okay? I think that was your question, right?
Well, basically, the main crux of the question is there something that you have learned as a small business owner that you could take and incorporate into policies that benefit small business owners?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, just again, like having those resources because I never had that. I never had anyone tell me anything. And now I even like when people are aspiring to do what I do or be personal trainers and actually have their own studio, I'm kind of coaching them through that and giving them advice on how to do that, like making sure they have an accountant, making sure they have a lawyer and an attorney, making sure you have like contracts to protect yourself. Like I have an LLC, so now if somebody comes in and gets hurt at Isolation Fitness, they can sue Isolation Fitness, and they can sue my LLC, but they cannot take my house. They can't take any of my assets. They can't take my car. They can't do anything that affects me personally, but they can sue Isolation Fitness, the business. So, but these are things that people don't know. Just going into a business, people. So there has to be like some other training as well. Like there should be, I guess, like business training if people want to go into starting their own business. So that way we can make sure that businesses thrive and they don't fail. So I think there should be a piece of legislation on small business training, and we can have small business training in multiple neighborhoods around the country.
Every candidate gets a chance to share their final thoughts and anything that they want to say. You want to plug your campaign website, anything that's on your mind, anything that you want to say, the floor is yours.
Oh yeah, I definitely want people to follow my campaign. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok at Kyle Little for Congress. I'm running a fully grassroots campaign. So I'm taking money from no corporate PACs, definitely no APAC money. So I'm just depending on everyday people. And I actually have a slogan out right now called Power of the Dollar, because there's over 200,000 Democratic voters in New Jersey's 12th congressional district. If everybody donated $1 to my campaign, that could be over $200,000, and that can raise a voice to every corporate PAC around the country, because we have too many politicians in office now taking dark money from large corporations and these large corporations are fraudulent. Like they don't do anything well for the American people, and nothing that benefits the American people. So, I just ask people to look into my campaign. Again, I am not right now. I am the only one who is a small business owner and an adjunct college professor. I'm not a career politician. And I was originally challenging an incumbent Democrat who said that she is no longer seeking reelection. So since she has said she's not seeking reelection, now it's an open seat, and I have two mayors. I have a county commissioner. I have an assemblywoman. So I have all of these politicians now who already have money and already have political backing behind them, who are now just looking for a pay grade. They're not really looking to do anything that actually benefits the community. So there's a bunch of things that I want to do for the community. I want to build up Trenton. I'm lucky that I have the capital of New Jersey in my district. So I want to get some federal dollars into Trenton, work with their mayor and city councilmen, just to help build the city a little bit, because I really want to do things for the community. I want to make sure that marginalized communities are really have a voice and somebody who could fight for them in Congress. So, I'm just looking to, I'm a progressive Democrat. Key word in progressive is progress. I'm trying to push my district and help push this country forward so that we're on the right steps to, having a thriving economy and having justice and equality for all people.
Kyle Little, thank you so much for being on the program. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.